Chancellor Angela Merkel of Germany, backed by the members of her conservative bloc in Berlin on Sunday. Christian Brunner, European press photo agency Berlin. Chancellor Angela Merkel's attempt to form a new German government collapsed on Sunday as one of the four parties she was seeking to bind together walked out after hours of negotiations, citing irreconcilable differences and throwing open the question of what comes next. The breakdown after weeks of intense talks aimed at forming a new government leaves Germany in limbo at a time when Europe and much of the Western world is looking to Berlin for leadership. New elections are possible, but there are fears among the establishment that such a move could further empower the far right. It is also possible that Ms. Merkel's party would try to form a minority government, but the breakdown in talks has further weakened her. Appearing before reporters, flanked by the members of her conservative bloc, Ms. Merkel said she believed the talks could have succeeded. But she said she respected, even as she regretted, the decision of the business-friendly Free Democrats to quit the negotiations after 4 weeks. "I will contact the president tomorrow morning, inform him about the situation, and we will see how things continue," Ms. Merkel said, vowing that her conservatives would continue to take responsibility for this country, even in such a difficult situation. The Chancellor had set Friday as the deadline for reaching an agreement among the Free Democrats, the Ecologist Greens and the Christian Social Union, which forms a conservative bloc with Ms. Merkel's Christian Democrats. For the outset, the parties had differed widely on key issues, especially migration and climate policies, and the talks were tense. After intense meetings among negotiators and party leaders over the weekend failed to produce any breakthroughs, Christian Lindner, the head of the Free Democrats, told reporters that his party was quitting the talks. "It is better not to govern than to govern insincerely," he said. The parties were left with too many points on which they still did not see eye to eye, raising questions about how they would be able to govern together for 4 years, he said. The protracted negotiating process has shown that the four partners have no common vision for our country and no common basis of trust, Mr. Lindner said. Ms. Merkel was forced to seek the unwieldy coalition after her party suffered losses in the September 24 election and found itself without a clear path to forming a new government. Her bloc won only 30.2% of the vote, with an increased number of voters supporting the far-right Alternative for Germany. For weeks, the Free Democrats insisted that they were not afraid of fresh elections, but many fear that another round of voting would change little other than to further strengthen the far right. Earlier on Sunday, the country's president, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, sternly warned the negotiators against a fresh round of voting and called on the parties to reach an agreement. "Of course, I expect that all sides take their responsibility seriously. And doing so means not returning the mandate to the voters," Mr. Steinmeier said in an interview with the Welt am Sonntag, published hours before the talks collapsed. Ms. Merkel can still try to persuade the Social Democrats, her previous coalition partner, to enter into another government. But leaders of that centre-left party insisted that voters had clearly rejected the so-called Grand Coalition of the country's two mainstream parties that has governed since 2013. Should Ms. Merkel fail to form a coalition, Mr. Steinmeier could still nominate her as Chancellor. Given that her party has the largest bloc in Parliament, she would then need to be confirmed by lawmakers, and would be left with a minority government that would require alliances with other partners to pass legislation, a new situation for Germany. A version of this article appears in print on November 20, 2017, on page A9 of the New York edition with the headline "Germany fails to form a coalition to govern."